Alright guys, Gemini back with another video, and it was requested to me to do 5 worst moments in pro wrestling history. So I picked out some good ones. Now, this is going to be up to your own judgment which 5 moments, but these are 5 moments in wrestling that stood out to me, and everyone's going to have a different opinion on this. This is just 5 that stood out to me. Like I said, it's up for debate on what the worst 5 moments are, but I picked out 5 pretty good ones that can be considered pretty much disastrous. So, all right, let's get to number 5 here. The Undertaker crucifying Mideon up on the stage on Raw, somewhere around, I want to say 98, 99. He had Mideon down, and this was on Raw. This is probably before a lot of people started watching wrestling that watch nowadays. But this was, it was like 98. And Undertaker was doing this demonic gimmick. And he puts Mideon, you guys remember him, he had a streaker gimmick and whatnot. He puts him up, and he starts cutting his wrist and shit. And doing this weird ass ritual with Mideon. It was one of the strangest things I'd ever seen in wrestling. It was just, to me, that was one of the worst moments in wrestling history, and I made a video on it where I said it was the worst moment, because you just don't crucify people on live network TV. It's just, there's a fine line, and you just probably shouldn't cross it. Number 4 was the Triple H and Katie Vick angle from 2002. You know, building heat with Kane and Triple H in their program. Katie Vick was a dead girl that supposedly died in this big car crash, and so Triple H decided that he was going to get inside her coffin and perform some necrophilia with her, which basically means sex with a dead body. And they did this like live on Raw. I don't really know what they were thinking, having Triple H perform necrophilia on Katie Vick. I'm not sure how that ever was okay to do something like that, but honestly, just a tad bit distasteful, if you ask me. One of the worst moments in wrestling history. Number 3, you're gonna like this one. The McMahon car explosion. This just signified a bad time in wrestling. It really did. This was right around the time when John Cena had been the world champion for about a year. People hated it. We're so sick of everything, and McMahon was so desperate to just give a different product. He was so desperate. He was giving away money. He was doing anything. And the McMahon limo thing, that was one of the worst moments, because the next week he had to come out on Raw and basically, talk about Chris Benoit. So it killed the whole McMahon limo explosion thing. Just a very bad moment. It really was, when the limo exploded. Obviously Vince McMahon wasn't in there. It was WWE's way of honestly insulting the fans' intelligence. It was bad. Okay, the number 2 moment, I have to put some WCW. I could basically do all these videos. I could do all these 5 moments on WCW. I could, because WCW made a lot more mistakes than WWE. A lot more dumb mistakes. Like, for instance, one of the things I could have put in this video easily would have been the Chamber of Horror matches at, what was it, 91? That, Halloween Havoc, when Abdul the Butcher supposedly got electrocuted to death in the middle of the ring. I mean, you imagine taking your little kids to whatever it was, WCW Halloween Havoc in Atlanta, wherever it was, and watching a big fat man get electrocuted. I mean, that was a moment that could have been in there, but I got it number 2. Ric Flair leaving WCW. I guess that isn't necessarily a moment, but if you think about it, the owner of WCW at the time, Jim Herd, he asked Ric Flair, the greatest professional wrestler to ever live, to cut his hair, get an earring, and go by the name Spartacus. And Ric Flair says, "Stick it up your ass, man. I'm Ric Flair. I'm the highest drawing wrestler besides Hulk Hogan in the world. And you want to change my Pepper? Shut up. And you want to change my? Oh, sorry, I was holding that in. You want to change my gimmick? I mean, Jim Herd was an idiot. If you have Ric Flair wrestling for you in his prime, and you want to cut his hair and give him an earring and call him Spartacus, you're out of your freaking mind." And then they went to the pay-per-view with Ric Flair being gone over to the WWF. They went to the WCW pay-per-view. It was like Great American Bash. I think it was Luger and Wyndham in the steel cage match at Great American Bash 91. And they have like 20,000 people, whatever it is, and they're chanting for Flair. And right there, when you have a world title match and everybody in the building is chanting for someone else, so they couldn't give two shits about Luger and Wyndham. I mean, that was one of the worst moments in wrestling of all time. But the number one worst moment in wrestling of all time, still, to this day, is going to be David Arquette winning the WCW World Heavyweight title. I don't like a lot of what WWE does today, but at least you know that some skinny Hollywood actor is not going to become the WWE World Champion. I guess that would be the equivalent today with today's product of giving Pepper, who am I thinking? Stephen Amell the world title on Raw, or who's the guy at SummerSlam last? John Daly, giving him the world title at SummerSlam last year. That's what they did with David Arquette. Still to this day, when he held that prestigious gold belt that the Great Muta had worn, that Barry Windham had worn, that Masahiro Chono had worn, that Ric Flair had worn, Big Van Vader has worn. Don't jump up there. Hey, Pepper, Pepper, you're screwing up my video. Just jumped up on top of the big bitch. Anyways, when Arquette won the title, get off there. What do you want to say, hi or something? Want to say hi? Want everyone to see the Peppers? Huh? Get down from there. My goodness. Anyways, guys, I'm just get out of here. All wound up. Anyways, it's gonna be my top 5 worst moments in pro wrestling history. So I'm curious to see what you guys think and what your 5 worst moments were. Thank you.